So last night I was sitting here in the comic book room and I was going through some comics and I stumbled upon several comics that I actually did not recall buying. And that perplexed me a little bit, to be honest with you. It perplexed me because I try to celebrate wins. I try to celebrate when I pick up an awesome book. And I honestly don't recall buying some of these books. And I spent a little bit of time after having this epiphany here in the comic book room reflecting upon myself, reflecting upon my collection. And I actually want to share with you in this video what some of my thoughts were, with the hope that it may help someone out there. If you're curious as to what my reflections have been, stay tuned for the video. Regie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, I want to encourage you to go ahead and hit the subscribe button. That way you don't miss out on any of the content that gets released from the channel. And by subscribing, it also makes you eligible for the weekly giveaway that I do on the channel, sponsored by my friends at Go Collect. With that said, as you heard in that intro, I spent some time here in the comic book room last night going through some of my slabs, and I was looking for a specific comic for a video that I wanted to record, and I could not find that comic. So I'm looking and looking, and I'm going through different bins, and I stumbled upon several comics that I honestly did not recall buying. And in one case, I stumbled upon 2 copies of a book and didn't realize that I had 2 copies. And so I spent a little bit of time after I found the book that I was looking for, spent a little bit of time here in the room reflecting upon my collecting over this last year, the last year of 2020. And what I've realized in many respects is that 2020 was a really good year for me as a comic book collector. I know that for a lot of folks, 2020 was a tough year, but at least as it relates to comic book collecting, it was a very, very big year for me, and possibly the largest and best year that I've had as a comic book collector. As an example, I picked up Amazing Fantasy last year, and I also picked up Fantastic Four issue number 1. And I am not bragging. That is not what I'm attempting to do. But what I am trying to highlight is that it was a good year. And what I try to do whenever I have a success, whether large or small, I try to take some time to reflect upon that success. And in the case of these books that I did not recall buying, I don't think that I took that time. I don't think that I took the time to reflect upon what I had accomplished. And that kind of sort of bothers me. It really does. That is the crux of the problem. A younger me was a big believer in setting goals, taking down goals, and going to the next goal. That was my thing, right? I would set a goal. As soon as I accomplished it, my question was, where is the next mountain for me to climb? And as I've gotten a little older, what I've attempted to do is to slow myself down. I've attempted to slow down and to take the time to appreciate what I had accomplished, no matter how big or how small, but also how I accomplished it. And that to me is about, yes, what I've done, but it's also an appreciation for the overall experience. And I've tried to do this in my personal life and in my personal life and in my professional life as it relates to comics, right? I've tried to do that. And again, it bothered me because I did not do that in these instances. And so I wanted to kind of record this video to basically say to you and kind of sort of to myself that maybe now is the time for a little bit of self-reflection, because we are still in the early part of 2021. And now might be the ideal time to stop and to think about everything that happened in 2020 before we get too deep in 2021, to think about everything that happened in 2020, both good and bad. It is very easy for me to focus on the bad things. I'll be completely honest. It is easy for me to focus on the bad things. So I try to focus first on the good things. What are the successes that I've had? What are the things that went well for me, right? To kind of remind myself of those things. And once I do that, I then think about some of those things that didn't go as well as they could have. Because in my mind, there are important lessons to be learned from both the successes and the failures. Yes, I picked up some awesome books in 2020. Maybe you picked up some awesome books as well. Maybe you organized your collection. Maybe you learned how to grade. Maybe you learned how to clean and press. Maybe you developed some really good relationships with your local comic shop owner, and maybe even relationships with your fellow collectors. Those are all wins that have to be acknowledged and have to be appreciated. These are the things that I try to think about. But on the other side of that coin, there are some things that maybe I didn't do, maybe you didn't do, and it's important to think about those things as well. Maybe you set a goal for yourself of getting a book and you didn't do it. Maybe you set a goal of organizing your collection and you didn't do it. Maybe your goal was to start a YouTube channel or an Instagram page or develop better relationships with your fellow collectors, and maybe you didn't. That's actually okay. That is actually okay, because as I mentioned, there are important lessons to be learned from the successes and the failures and missed opportunities. And so by carving out some time for reflection, carving out some time to think about those things that could have gone better, those things that you wanted to do but you didn't quite get there, it's important to take that time. And it's important because we now have a whole new year in front of us to do better. And for me, I like to take some time to reflect upon all of that stuff that happened in this last year and come up with a game plan for the future. What are the things that I want to do differently? What are the things that I want to do better? What are the lessons that I've learned that helped me to be successful or not from the past that I want to take into the future? And what are those things that happened that I did or whatever that I want to leave behind in 2020? So while I took a little bit of time recently to do some reflecting, I plan to take some additional time to think about all of the stuff that I just mentioned to you before. Because again, 2020 for me, and maybe even for you from a comic book collecting standpoint, might have been a really good year. And the question is why? Why was it a good year? And more importantly, how can we make 2021 even better than 2020? That is the question that I am essentially asking myself right now. And I'm going to take some time on some backing boards that are on the desk in front of me to come up with a game plan and to think about how can I make 2021 even better. And if you have been watching some of my content, you probably know that one of the big goals that I've set for my channel is to reach 21,000 subscribers. That is the goal. I also want to improve my audience retention time, right? The time in which people and the length of which people watch my videos. Those are some goals that I've kind of set for myself already. And I'm going to continue to build upon those goals and to refine those goals and to come up with some actual game plans for how to take down all of my goals, not just the ones related to the channel, but also in my personal life as well. And so I invite you to reflect, and hopefully through reflection, we can all make 2021 a fantastic year. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. And if you did, I certainly want to encourage you to hit the thumbs up button and leave a comment behind. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, I definitely want to encourage you to do that now and help me to achieve my goal. With that said, if you need to reach out to me, feel free to do so on Instagram at Regie Collects. Take care.